The sparkling champagne glistened under the chandelier, masking the lie Alina had lived for months across the crowded Manhattan penthouse. Lucas watched his wife lean into another man, her laugh too loud, her touch lingering where it shouldn't. He felt his phone vibrate a wire transfer that would change everything. Yet, he stayed silent, a ghost in his own marriage. The most dangerous secrets are the ones we keep from those we sleep beside, and his story is no exception. The Pierre Hotel ballroom buzzed with scent of luxury and transactional chatter. Alina's gala was her battlefield. Success hung on every glance, every word. Lucas stood near a marble pillar, feeling out of place in his rented tuxedo, a facade Alina insisted upon to fit the story they told, struggling writer and his thriving wife. But beneath the glitter, cracks were forming, secret glances unraveling the facade they maintained so well. Lucas, try not to look so bored, Alina whispered. Her emerald dress sharp as a blade, beauty weaponized, confidence masked a deeper game. Mark, the polished director, approached a man everything Lucas was not, loud, commanding, certain. Their interaction was casual but charged. Mark's smile lingered too long, his hands encroached subtly, claiming space Alina allowed. Lucas watched unseen battles unfold in quiet, his gut twisting with truths unspoken. Lucas sipped sparkling water he didn't want, a silent observer. Alina laughed easily with Mark, her touch light but intimate. She was the martyr in her story, bearing a heavy load, and Lucas, the struggling artist, the weight she carried. But beneath his calm, the irony stung. His phone buzzed. A message from his agent. Universal had just bid 8 figures for his novel, the story of their fractured lives. Elias Thorne, his secret identity, was about to be exposed. Lucas slipped away to the terrace, the cold November wind biting his face as the city lights blurred below, through the glass. He caught a glimpse, a reflection of Alina leaning back into Mark's possessive touch. She didn't pull away. The warmth between them was a betrayal, cold and sharp. He touched his phone, debating his next move, knowing the truth he held could shatter everything irreparably. 3 days after the gala, the apartment breathed a heavy silence. Alina sang in the shower, unaware or uncaring that Lucas was uncovering a secret message on her iPad, text messages clandestine and cold. She called Mark her anchor, a weight holding her in a gilded cage. His hands hovered over the phone, numb but awake to the irony. The woman he loved saw him as an obstacle. He wasn't a husband anymore. He was just in the way. Alina emerged wrapped in silk. Her voice was casual, disguising secrets. She touched Lucas with cold familiarity, offering advice about sleep as if they were strangers. Later, in the darkness of their bedroom, she lit a cigarette by the window, an old habit she vowed to quit. Whispered words to Mark revealed her vulnerabilities masked as cruelty, plotting to cut ties without blame. Lucas listened, heart-sinking but detached, realizing who she had become. Tuesday morning was chaos wrapped in a well-dressed lie. Alina raced out, burdened with stress and ambition, while Lucas calmly planned his exit in his small study. He contacted his attorney Arthur, the keeper of the Elias Thorne secret. Protocols were enacted. Separation was imminent, financial ties severed. Lucas packed only essentials, the wedding band, the divorce papers, symbols of a marriage ended quietly, legally. Finally, he was ready to leave, unburdened and free. The unmade bed bore the traces of restless nights and dreams lost. Lucas placed his simple gold wedding band next to the empty charger where Alina's phone once lay. The thick manila envelope held their legal ending, irreconcilable differences. No accusations, no blame. As he locked the apartment door behind him, he left behind not anger but relief. The weight lifted, the cage door closing softly but firmly. Downstairs, Henry the doorman tipped his hat as Lucas slipped into the waiting black SUV. The city pulsed with life, yellow taxis, rushing pedestrians, but Lucas was already fading into the background. The Manhattan skyline vanished in the rearview mirror. Just another piece of the puzzle he was leaving behind. No slam, no shout, just quiet. Lucas Graham was gone, and Elias Thorne was ready to rise. When Alina returned that evening, the apartment was eerily perfect, too perfect. Pristine surfaces, military precision, no mess, no signs of life. On the kitchen island lay the silent message, her ring, the divorce papers, the house key. Reality crashed in with cold clarity. Lucas was done not with anger, but finality. She laughed, a sound sharp and breathless, a whispered challenge to the empty room. The game was explored in champagne and hollow victories as Mark moved in, filling the space with loud music and expensive cologne. Yet beneath the surface, the house began to rot, trash piled, dishes unwashed, plants dying. Alina realized she had traded solid foundation for empty noise. The penthouse was no trophy. It was a gilded cage she now couldn't afford. The cost of ambition weighed heavier than ever beside the haunted silence Lucas left behind. Alina stared at her banking app, the weight of reality sinking in. The automatic rent draft loomed, but the joint account balance was dangerously low. The steady deposits from Lucas had ended the day he left. Confronting Mark, she realized the truth. The man she thought was a kept woman was actually funding their lifestyle. Mark laughed off the revelation, dismissing the idea of sharing rent. The facade crumbled fast. Mark's careless attitude spilled into every corner: wine stains, ignored mess, unpaid bills. Alina's gaze drifted to the window, city lights mocking her with their distant steadiness. She had traded the quiet strength for noise and neglect, climbing a ladder leaning against a wall Lucas had built. The truth was clear. She was caged by choices, trapped in a life she only half understood, paying a price far beyond dollars. 3 years later, Lucas stood on the deck of his cold spring estate, surrounded by towering woods and the gentle mist of the Hudson River. His architectural sanctuary was a far cry from the tense Manhattan penthouse he left behind. This was peace, the home of a man who had finally built a life on his own terms, funded by his writing and the silent success of Elias Thorne's novels. Inside, the dedicated phone line rang. His agent Sarah brought news electrified with possibility. The studio pushed for a premiere. The A-list cast was set, and the network demanded Lucas's face. The mystery that once fueled his fame must now fade. Lucas touched a scar on his hand, a reminder of past pain and silent resilience, and accepted. The time had come to step out from the shadows and own his story. Studio wanted the truth live, no edits. A prime-time Sunday night slot, it was the ultimate stage. A gamble for a man who had spent a decade as a ghost, surrounded by his books, his trophies. Lucas nodded to himself. This was not just an interview, it was the final chapter of his silence. He was Elias Thorne now, ready for the world to see behind the mask and meet the man who wrote The Silent Echo. Meanwhile, at Vertex PR, Alina rallied her weary team, desperate for a comeback, pitching Elias Thorne as their salvation. But the cracks showed. Mark, heavier and worn, remained doubtful. The agency was bleeding. Alina's finances were tethered to a lifestyle fraying at the edges. The promised promotion was a paycheck without enough zeros, a symbol of dreams deferred, and desperation rising beneath polished smiles. The national network special began the unmasking of the reclusive literary giant. Alina's heart hammered as the camera revealed the man behind the mystery. But the man was shockingly familiar. The scar, the tilt of the head, the calm eyes. Lucas Graham, the husband she abandoned, was Elias Thorne. The champagne slipped, shattered silently on glass, a symbol of a life breaking under the weight of truth. Vertex room emptied of breath. Lucas. Calm smile played on screen, the same smile from mornings past. Now a mask peeled away by truth, questions cut deep. Why hide? Why the silence? Lucas answered with quiet strength. He never sought fame. Invisibility was his tool. He saw the world differently, and now the world was seeing him. Alina sat frozen, her carefully constructed world crumbling with each word. Lucas spoke of love lost and divergent dreams. He was married 5 years, loved deeply. But two realities collided. She chased a lifestyle, he was the obstacle. He chose removal as the hardest act of love. Mark scoffed, greed masking hurt. Alina's heart shattered, not with sorrow, but cold realization. Lucas had borne their cruelty silently, funding her life while she scorned him. The truth burned hotter than betrayal. Mark's facade crumbled instantly. The agency's reputation teetered on the edge. Alina stammered, blindsided by betrayal she never saw coming. Lucas never told her for good reason. Mark's bitterness exposed the depths of deception. As Lucas laughed softly on screen, successful and free, Alina was left drowning in shame and loss. A leader undone by the very man she underestimated for years. Alone in the wreckage, Alina sank into her chair as Mark walked out, gone like her illusions. The staff's judgment was palpable, the momentum of her fall unstoppable. Elias Thorne was no shield. He was a sword cutting through her ambitions. The segment ended, but the image burned into her mind. The man she thought she knew was gone, replaced by a force she could no longer control or ignore. Winter in New York was ruthless. Alina, stripped of glamour, waited in the biting cold outside the Strand bookstore. Gone were gowns and power suits. Now, a humble trench coat and low bun. 3 months after the scandal, the agency lost her, and Mark vanished. Clutching a first edition of The Anchor, the story she once lived, Alina prepared to face a reckoning she never expected but could no longer avoid. Inside the warm bookstore, the atmosphere hummed with reverence. Lucas sat at a table, healthier, vibrant, smiling genuinely as he signed books. The mysterious recluse was now a man of flesh and bone, alive and present. Alina stepped forward, heart pounding, rehearsing apologies written on an invisible script. There, in the quiet among fans, two lost souls faced the unspoken past, their story about to be rewritten one word at a time. Alina. Lucas greeted, his smile polite but guarded. The warmth she remembered evaporated, replaced by a barrier built from years of silence. A second of stretched quiet between them held entire histories: love, pain, betrayal. She tried to speak, but the weight of mistakes was too heavy. Their past wasn't a story anymore. It was a chasm neither knew how to cross, leaving only fragile hope in that brief exchange. Alina whispered confessions, losses layered upon losses. Mark gone, career shattered, life reduced. Lucas' pen paused, then continued, professional and distant. Her resilience acknowledged without false consolation. She clung to the climb she once loved. But now the summit seemed unreachable, closing the book. He slid it toward her, a silent farewell, a final note that life moves on, with or without forgiveness. Lucas walked away from the penthouse, from betrayal and silence into a new life penned by his own hand. Alina faced the ruins with shattered pride and empty pockets. Their intertwined story, once a silent echo of secrets, shattered like the glass at the gala. Now, the truth spoke loudly, and both stood at crossroads, one rewriting legacy in solitude, the other seeking redemption in shadowed streets. The real story was just beginning. Do we hide from those closest to us? How long can silence shield a fragile heart before it shatters? This story reminds us that sometimes the greatest battles are fought in quiet moments, and the deepest wounds are invisible. As you watch, think, what masks do we wear, and who holds the key to unlocking the truth? The answers might be closer than we think. Our journey through betrayal, silence, and revelation has reached a turning point. The masks are off. The facades crumbled. Now begins the deeper exploration of motives, choices, and consequences every secret births. Stay with this story as we unravel the complex strands, showing how pain transforms into strength, and how a ghost becomes a legend alive. Glitzy rooftop gathering. Lucas stood in the shadows, watching a scene unfold. Alina's laughter with a man not him. The intimacy too obvious against the crowd's backdrop. His heart clenched, but he remained still, anchored by a secret plan. This was the beginning of the unraveling, where appearances deceived and truth waited silently beneath sparkling lights. Lucas maintained the image of a struggling freelance writer, while Alina held the reins of their Manhattan lives. His rented tuxedo symbolized the roles they decrafted. The world saw a couple where she shone, and he simply dreamed. But behind closed doors, that narrative supported illusions, and hiding the reality was far more complicated and deeply painful. Mark, a powerful figure within Vertex PR, entered the fray polished, assertive, and confident. His presence was a contrast to Lucas' quietude. The tension mingled with the cocktail chatter as ambitions collided. Alina's subtle gestures signaled alliances and betrayals only visible to those who cared to look closely. Lucas' observation sharpened. Alina's laughter wasn't nervous, it was complicit. The space between her and Mark blurred into moments of quiet possession. Lucas felt isolated, sidelined, trapped inside his own life's story. Yet, his phone buzzed news that his hidden world was about to collide with reality. The anonymity wouldn't last forever. Stepping outside to the terrace, Lucas sought solace in the chilly air. He saw the truth reflected, the embrace of betrayal in the dark glass. The city stretched below, indifferent to the fractures hidden within the penthouse walls. This was his moment of reckoning, silent, solitary, but decisive. Inside, secret texts from Alina revealed a callous nickname and plans to sever ties carefully. Lucas read between the lines, recognizing the calculated coldness that marked her transformation from partner to stranger. It was a silent warfare of words and intentions, invisible to the casual onlooker but fatal in their impact. Morning broke with frayed nerves and unspoken grief. Alina's casual brush past Lucas masked deeper distances. The coldness wasn't physical but emotional, a schism impossible to mend. Nighttime was a performance of calm breathing. Daylight brought whispered calls and planning for separations to come. The marriage was unraveling, thread by fragile thread. Lucas prepared quietly, completing plans with his attorney to sever financial ties. No dramatic scenes, just cold, clinical execution of separation. The past left in paper and signatures, marking an emotional death. This final chapter was written not in anger, but in weary resolve, a clean break enabling new beginnings. The unmade bed, the wedding band resting beside empty spaces, and signed divorce papers told a silent story. A love concluded, a life closed. The weight of years pressed into a small envelope, final and irrevocable. Lucas left the space without fanfare, stepping into freedom's quiet embrace. Lucas exited as the city greeted a new day. The doorman's tip of the hat was a ritual acknowledgement of departure. The Manhattan skyline receded behind him, both a physical and emotional farewell. Lucas Graham erased from one chapter, Elias Thorne rising in another, framed by the endless possibilities of anonymity gifted by writing. Alina's return was met by unsettling calm. The apartment's too perfect order masked messages of abandonment, the ring, papers, and keys arranged like a cold farewell. Her laughter, brittle and defiant, was a hollow shield against blistering truths. The past dissolved. Now came consequences that would echo beyond penthouse walls. Mark's arrival brought noise and chaos masquerading as victory. Brash and careless, he filled the home with distractions but no solace. The small decays piled, a growing reminder that luxury without care is hollow. Elena, surrounded yet isolated, confronted the cost of replacement and the loneliness of chasing hollow dreams masked as success. Facing dwindling funds, Elena confronted Mark about rent. His refusal to contribute exposed the illusion. She had been the provider all along without knowing. His laughs echoed bitter judgment, shrinking her world. The facade of wealth cracked, revealing vulnerability beneath pride and delusion. Neglected messes multiplied the forgotten stain. The dying plants, signs of indifference marking every corner. The penthouse, once a beacon of their combined strength, became a cage tightening its grip. Elena saw clearly now. Ambition's price was far steeper than she imagined. A slow erosion of everything truly valuable. Hudson Valley retreat symbolized rebirth, trees whispering, river flowing, silence healing. Lucas stood surrounded by nature's embrace, far from the cruel clang of city life. His success, once hidden, now built in peace and authenticity. The house was more than architecture. It was fortress, symbol, and sanctuary all in one. The ring of his agent's call shattered silence with opportunity. The world demanded the man behind the myth, ready to embrace Lucas fully. The studio pushed for premiere dates, marketing buzz, and the face the world craved. He ponders the scar, his past, and the road ahead. The shell was broken. It was time for emergence. Lucas agreed on terms, live interview, no edits. Prime Sunday night broadcast, the Super Bowl of TV slots. A bold choice marking a new chapter. The walls lined with first editions bore witness to his journey. No more shadows. Today, he stands as the man who shaped the legend, ready for the spotlight he once shunned. Back in New York, Elena's plea to her team was soaked in hope and desperation. Elias Thorne was their lifeline, yet murmurs of past scandal and instability lingered. Mark's cynicism shadowed the room. The climb was steep, the fall imminent. Elena's belief was fierce, but so was the weight pressing down upon her shoulders. The broadcast began, lights dimmed, screens flickered. The nation held its breath. The legendary journalist introduced a decade of mystery distilled into a single moment, the reveal. Elena sat taut, palms sweaty, Mark assured yet uneasy. All waited to see the man behind the myth, unaware that the moment would change everything, igniting a storm impossible to calm. The camera zoomed in on a man relaxed and poised, the face of Elias Thorne unveiled as Lucas Graham. The image shattered long-held assumptions. Elena's world spun, glass fell, breaking silently. Suddenly, the quiet man was everywhere, and the truth too loud to ignore. The masked author collapsed into reality before their eyes. Questions cut to the bone, why hide? Lucas's answers radiated acceptance and wisdom. He had chosen invisibility to observe, to write truth unfiltered. Elena felt exposed, memories flashing of dinners missed, insults endured, love betrayed. The room buzzed with shock and empathy. The story's cracks illuminated in unforgiving light. Mark's envy bled through. His disbelief at Lucas's fortune raw and vocal. The agency's future, tied to Elena's failures, hung precariously. The fragile alliances crumbled. Elena's tears were a veil over revelations brutal and deep. Money, respect, and loyalty all vanished beneath years of quiet deception. The past was unforgiving, and the present merciless. The ruins of the conference room. Elena's colleagues looked past her, seeing no leader, just a woman undone by the revelations. The room's silence was deafening as the broadcast ended. Mark's footsteps echoed, leaving her alone amid the wreckage of ambitions sacrificed on an altar of pride and deceit. The silent echo's ghost had finally become flesh and bone, and it spelled the end of a February's wind cut deep, driving Elena to seek refuge outside a bookstore where a crowd gathered for a signing. No longer adorned in power suits, she stood humbly, her hands clutching a hard cover symbolizing both her downfall and hope. The cold couldn't numb the surge of memories or the grasp of impending judgment awaiting inside the warm store. Inside, Lucas greeted admirers, a scene of warmth and light contrasting with the chill outside. His laughter was genuine, a sound Elena hadn't heard in years. As she approached, rehearsed apologies faltered. Time had transformed him, and the bridge between them was fragile and uncertain. Their story wasn't over. It was evolving, quiet but undeniably real. The greetings were stiff, polite, the warmth replaced by barriers of silence, years of distance packed into a breathless pause.